Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Decentralized Chain is for Oz. And in today's episode, we are at that time of the month again. Maybe not the best choice of words, but we are. It is time for the monthly update with Richard Parris with all things Saito. But before we do, if this is the type of content that you like, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Definitely hit the like button and the bell notification icon so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. Better still, why don't you come and join us in the Telegram community? Plenty of crypto content being shared there. There's also TikTok. If you like short form videos, follow us on TikTok. And if you like live streams, daily live streams, then also follow us on Binance Live as well. We are across all the socials right now. And now let's jump into the interview and catch up with Richard. Let's find out exactly what's been happening at Saito Core, what's been happening with the developers, what's been happening with the community, what's been happening with the games and apps. See you on the other side. Richard, welcome back to the show. First time we're speaking this year, actually. So kind of happy belated New Year.
Happy New Year. It's always good to be here and great to catch up.
Well, we love having you here, Richard. And as much as we love having you here, we love hearing about your updates. So let's jump straight into it for the masses. So first up on our list, let's talk a bit about Core. Refactoring, up and going. Yep. What is happening with Red Square? What's happening with the traction you're getting from Arcade? What's happening with Rust?
So it's a bit of an announcement of what looks like the same until you start digging into it. Basically, we at the same time we've had real success with Red Square and people coming along and starting to use things a lot more. We've had developers independently in the community pushing to partake and to build things, and we've seen on both sides, some of the rough edges on the stack from the user perspective, where we'd built prototypes and not fully integrated them, or we're just sort of trialing things and being kind of fast and loose, were fine for smaller audiences, but were not necessarily understood by new people coming along and discovering things. So we wanted to fix that up, and at the same time we were hearing from developers that the actual paper cuts and worse that they were dealing with in trying to understand how do I put my game on the network, etc. So it was clear it's time to just sort of wring out the code base and iron it, get it pressed and neat and ready to roll. That's meant quite a few fewer features, but what's there is much tighter and snappier, and we'll go back to those features as demand appears. We know how to do them now, but we want to add them at a higher level of product quality and a higher experience grade.
Yeah.
And at the same time, this gets us really aligned with the core dev and the Rust WASM project coming. It's now the code base is in a good state to swap in that as the kind of beating heart, so that we only have one consensus code set moving towards token persistence, etc. So a huge amount of hard work. What people see on the user side is polish, things like dark mode. We've had so many people asking for dark mode.
Actually talking about dark mode, it is a must-have, because if I have an app on my iPhone that doesn't have dark mode, I really struggle now. I think it's just the bright screens. Nobody likes bright screens anymore.
No, I don't read my hometown newspaper because it's small and they don't have dark mode in their app, and I find it blinding. We've responded to things like that, but there's also, with that, we've got an API for it now, so app developers can easily use it, etc. So that's the stuff we've been changing. We're kind of internally processing documentation, that kind of stuff, and that's really just to step up a grade for experience for users, but also for developers who are participating, and that's really because they're there now. We're getting they're asking questions in TG and other places, and we're realizing, that's counterintuitive. This could be done better. Oh, we actually have two ways of achieving the same thing. It's not clear which one you should use. The sort of things you have in a code base after a while that we can really clean up and just get everything snappier.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned earlier around, I would say, more quality over features, because in my line of work as well, and I manage a huge software development team, I think one of the approaches we've taken this year now is to ramp back feature development and actually ramp up, polishing what we have, and which kind of introduces more stability, and you kind of get much more of what you need in terms of, getting your output.
Yeah, definitely. It's also, I think, key to the growth phase we're in, where if people see a scrappy project that's got some interesting ideas, etc., there's a time when that's actually, you don't want to overpromise. It's exactly what you are, and you can be that. Now that we're getting a broader community coming along, it's more important, like you said, that people find the value, that they see the value, and that they don't get let down by something small that ruins their perceptions or means they don't find what they were looking for. So I think that's a big shift for us as a team.
No, it's a very valid point. I mean, human nature is to try and find out the negatives or the bugs in the platform versus, you know, some of the great work that's already there, and you end up sort of just picking at the little bit. So it's always good to see that there's refactoring going on. One thing that I've noticed recently, well, not recently, but actually for a while now, is your outreach. Your outreach clearly has grown. Your socials are on a number of different places. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, again, you know, as with almost everything with us, it's the community that have come to the party and really taken things to the next level for us. So I think both David and I have been on at least one, show media commitment, something a day, each day this week, and for a couple of weeks now. And it's growing. We've had some fantastic things, like the Twitter space with the Radix guys in Cambridge Blockchain Club was fantastic. I did something with some guys out of the US yesterday. That was really refreshing. Good questions, people engaging with the project as what it is and interested in what we're doing. And I think that's been a huge change. The mad bull market last year, you could pay to play and talk to a room full of brand new DeFi friends who wanted to know like how to 2x tomorrow, and weren't super interested in our messaging and what we were trying to achieve. So what we've seen now is a combination of community getting out there and, jumping on anyone who says, who should I have on my podcast?
Yeah.
But also making enough noise and space in the space that people are seeing, oh, look, there's actually content here. And these guys know what they're talking about. Let's go and talk to them about stuff. So we're blown away and super happy about that. Yeah, no,
Twitter Spaces is absolutely amazing. I think also, last year, forget last year, but even the year before, going back in 2021, I think it was difficult for many projects in general to kind of get their message out, because in the height of the bull run, you've got this whole sort of euphoric phase and everyone, becoming an absolute degen and trying to find, the next 10, 20, 30x. And I think, projects building out their tech, building out their stack, some of these things get overlooked, really. And now that we've had that sort of last year of negative growth, I would say, across Bitcoin in general, it kind of sheds a lot of the unwanted noise. People that are just sort of here for the ride and gone. And now you've got people here, that are genuinely interested in listening and understanding what projects are building, what they're doing. And I've seen it with Twitter Spaces. It's a great medium to kind of get that out and to get a core following, that are genuinely interested in what you're building versus what your token price is.
Right. I think it's good. It gives it a really good balance between a simple platform to get into people's ears that's a little less formal than a podcast or like an organized session, with some interactivity tools. I mean, it's a pretty simple experience, but I think it just works really well. And there's just enough friction there, I think, or maybe it's just the way you enter, etc., that the people who are there genuinely want to be there. They've made a choice to be in that space. And there's still 2,000 DeFi spaces a day or something crazy that you could go and be in one all the time and listen to someone, talking, hyping an NFT or something that doesn't have any uniqueness, if you wanted to. But the people who are turning up, listening to what we want, what we're talking about, I think are genuinely interested. And that creates like a real vibrancy, and it's really great to be part of. I really enjoy it.
Oh, excellent. So let's talk a bit about new apps and games. I mean, what's happening for the community there and the team?
Yeah, I think just rounding off, I should plug the two new games that are actually community built. So Saito Mania is now version 3, and that's had a lot of community input into it. It's quite fun. I mean, it's it takes me back a bit to the old arcade days. It's a monster piece of work. So well done to Saito on that one. And then we've got Saito Run just up and running now from Pavel in the community as well. That's on the Staging Network, going live shortly. And I think it's just a sign of where we're at now, that people are starting to build and get excited about putting things out. We've got Beleaguered Solitaire and a couple of other community apps sitting on the network, and that just makes us really happy that that's happening. At the same time, the kind of game crew have been hard at it during the refactor, working on some new properties that we'll have out soon, and I think will also keep people really interested and exciting. They've also done, if you go through what we've got, there's a lot of little tweaks and improvements across the board, little animations and things to tell you who played and that sort of stuff that are really bringing things together. So yeah, it's got a positive time as usual at Saito with those things, but mostly credit to the community guys who are starting to put stuff up on the network.
Well, no, I mean, it's amazing. You guys are doing absolutely amazing work for, based on what we've been discussing today as well. So I think we like to keep these kind of short and sweet updates just so, everyone gets exactly what they need to get rather than looking at our pretty faces. But any last words, Richard, before we wrap up the show?
No, I think just look out for us on all the streams and places. We're around a lot now, and we're enjoying getting the word out.
And I'm going to use this to plug in, but if you haven't, you should check out this interview on Binance Live as well. There you go. That's a new social that we're going out on as well. So check that out, Binance Live. There you go, Richard.
Thank you.
Pushing you out. Well, Richard, thanks again. And let's catch up same time next month and see where we are then.
Absolutely.
Great to have you here, Richard. Bye.